If you like Rolex watches, go ahead and buy one. But don't think of it as an investment. As some of you may already know, these watches are not a good investment option unless you are incredibly lucky and come across a rare one at a ridiculous price. Don't be fooled by the seeming hype for some of these Rolex models. The luxury watch market is just like the stock market in that you never know where it'll be tomorrow. Is it true that luxury watches are a better investment than stock markets? It's time to start thinking like an investor. Welcome back to our channel. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. For the majority of people, there are only two possible perspectives on the luxury watch market. There are people who see it as a complete waste of money, like who on earth would spend so much money on a wristwatch? Then there's this other group of people, which is similar to the collectors, people who consider these to be timeless works of art. They prefer to collect stuff, possibly even things that will increase in value over time, and we understand both perspectives. In a way, many of these watches are merely a status symbol for some people, attempting to show off that they have accomplished a lot in life, that they have finally made a name for themselves, which is somewhat true. And that's why sport steel watches sell pretty well. Everybody wants to buy a Rolex at the entry-level price point, which is why prices have gone up. But here's the thing, I don't think it's worth it if you're buying it for status. Some may have noticed the watch, but these are people who know a lot about watches, and we've been talking about style, which generally happens at gatherings or events. Now, I'm not suggesting that wearing a pretty good-looking watch won't elevate your status, but it doesn't have to be a Rolex, which is my point here. The truth is that many people buy Rolex watches for the status, to be able to say that they actually own one. But if you're flaunting your Rolex all over social media just to prove your worth, then you seriously have some issues. It's all an experiment, I'm pretty sure. Watch collectors somewhat feel a deep connection with the watches they own. There's definitely a part of it where you practically have an attachment with your collection. There's history written all over these watches, but some of them are really just about status. And since every single celebrity wears them, the brand value of these watches is extremely high. Now let's talk about these watches' investment value. First and foremost, in traditional investment terms, a Rolex, a luxury watch, is not an investment. There has to be a cash flow in order for it to be considered an investment. If you own a business, you have employees who are responsible for running it and adding value. If I purchase a Rolex this year, I will only have one Rolex in 40 years because it hasn't produced more value. We consider a Rolex to be a speculative asset rather than an investment. Next, we have the compounded return. When it comes to investing, you think in terms of compounded returns. The tough part is determining which watches will do well and which will not, because there are numerous kinds of Rolexes or other timepieces that will depreciate in value and will not even grow in value, so it's all about choosing the right one. You also can't just go into a Rolex store and buy any watch you want. In order to grab a hold of one of these watches, you must first establish a relationship with a dealer. And what do you mean by that? Building a relationship means buying 2 or 3 other watches to show that you're a serious buyer, after which you can finally have the watch you want. So it's not as simple as going out and getting one, because next, if you want to buy a watch, you'll have to buy it on the secondary market. In comparison to the S&P 500, if you don't get it at retail, you'll already be paying a premium. The Standard & Poor's 500, or simply the S&P 500, is a stock market index that tracks the performance of 500 large firms that are listed on US stock exchanges. It is one of the most widely followed stock market indices. You can get it right now. You may create a brokerage account and simply invest your money in the stock market, letting it compound, and you'll have an income-generating asset that has much better probability of generating a return than a watch, which is far more speculative. Now, as an investment piece, for example, Rolex features white gold in a watch, and you might say that it has valuable metals. It's also selling for approximately the same price you paid for it, but you realize this one has been used, and it most likely has a few scratches. The warranty has been utilized for a handful of years, so I'd think you wouldn't be able to get or probably lose some money on this. Remember, if you're not in the industry, if you're not ready to do this in volume, or if you have no idea at all on what you're doing, don't invest in this. Let's talk about accuracy next. Perhaps you want to buy a Rolex since they're highly accurate, plus or minus 2 seconds a day. All Rolex watches are also subject to extensive testing at the official Swiss Chronometer Testing Institute. Basically, they examine the inner movement in 5 different orientations at 3 different temperatures over the course of 15 days, which is rather thorough. Then, if it passes, they issue a certificate, which all Rolexes sold do. After that, Rolex examines their watches once the movement is set to verify that it is, once again, extremely accurate. Enjoying this video so far? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. All of this sounds really good, but if you're serious about accuracy, you should just go get a Grand Seiko. They're nearly twice as accurate, 1 second a day plus or minus. The spring drive, according to the majority of Grand Seiko owners, is even better. And if you're truly concerned about accuracy, how about purchasing a simple digital watch that will be highly accurate or the most accurate watch available for less than $1,000 and will connect to several towers all over the world? So no matter where you are in the globe, you can get accurate time in your time zone by a simple press of a button. The point is that Rolex is accurate, but not the most accurate option available if that's what you're looking for. Let's move on to security. If you have an expensive watch, be warned that criminals and others who would steal from you are watching it. You could be going around with a really fine, expensive watch on your arm and have it completely pulled right off. It's possible to happen, especially when you least expect it. Make sure to keep all of your watches in a safe, because once you begin thinking about security, you start thinking about being robbed. So if you're going to travel and want a watch that's fairly less expensive, looks good, and won't break your heart if it's stolen or lost, then go ahead and buy a fashion watch. But be cautious when buying those pricey timepieces. If you're not prepared for everything that comes with it, including a little headache, then it is not worth the investment. Let's not forget about the maintenance. Well, these lovely mechanical watches do come with some maintenance. What exactly am I referring to? Every 5 years you need to open it up and then get the oil, yes, checked on your watch because it begins breaking down. Well, a lot of people won't do anything until their watch stops working properly. But you know what I mean, and I truly belong to that side. If it's not broken, don't tamper with it. The point is that the mechanics will ultimately break down and cause a problem. You might have to ship it off to get a warranty. The point is that expensive timepieces need expensive maintenance. At the end of the day, it all boils down to knowing what you're doing. You can achieve pretty solid gains regardless of the product if you have the capacity to understand the market as well as the timing of it. Do you think Rolex watches are a good investment option? Why or why not? Please let us know in the comments section below. And if you loved the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Thanks for watching.